I came to the Philippines with the simple intention of relaxing. That's it. Just one peaceful day at the beach. A normal, quiet, foreigner-type beach trip where you bring a towel, a pair of sunglasses, maybe a bottle of water if you're feeling responsible, and that's the whole checklist. I had this dreamy image in my mind. Soft waves, gentle breeze, a calm corner to read a book, and maybe a coconut with a tiny umbrella in it. But the Philippines had very different plans for me. It all started when my new Filipino friend, Shara, invited me to what she called a small family beach trip. I should have known that in Filipino English, the word small doesn't actually mean small. It's a philosophical term, a suggestion, an emotional state, a whisper of hope, but definitely not a description of size. How many people? I asked innocently. Oh, konti lang, she said. Just a few. That translated later to 53 people, including a baby that I swear I never saw until halfway through the day. Anyway, we were supposed to meet at 5 a.m. because, as she said, para hindi traffic, to avoid traffic. We left at 8:47 a.m. And this was the moment I realized the beach trip wasn't just a beach trip. It was a full-scale, logistically coordinated military operation. The first thing I noticed when her cousins arrived was that nobody was carrying beach items. Not a single beach chair, not a beach towel, not even sunscreen. Instead, they were hauling what looked like the entire contents of a medium-sized apartment. Giant pots, a long table, plastic chairs, a grill the size of my future, a tarp, a tent, a cooler so large it could store a whole tuna, bags of rice, and, I am not exaggerating, an extension cord that could probably wrap around the earth twice. I watched in stunned silence as one uncle loaded a full-sized karaoke machine into the van. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. We need it, he said, as if this explained everything. And apparently, it did. Another guy dragged what I assumed was just a regular bag. No, it was a rice cooker. A literal rice cooker. To the beach. The beach. I felt like I was watching nature being disrespected in real time. What is happening? I asked Shara quietly. She laughed. AD beach outing. As if that clarified the situation. But I rolled with it. I wanted to experience the culture. I just didn't realize I was going to experience the entire culture in one day. By the time we finally squeezed everything and everyone into 2 vans, including me who was wedged between a bag of charcoal and an auntie holding a tray of marinated pork, I had already accepted that whatever was going to happen today would not be peaceful, quiet, or normal. It would be, in every sense of the word, Filipino. The drive itself was an adventure. Someone blasted OPM music loud enough to rattle the windows. People were passing around snacks like it was a church offering. Babies were sleeping. People were laughing. Titas were talking about people I didn't know. But I still nodded like I understood. At some point, someone handed me a boiled egg. I don't know why. I just ate it because I was afraid of being rude. But when we arrived at the beach, that's when the true chaos began. While I was still stretching out my legs from being folded like a piece of luggage, everyone else had already jumped into action. Suddenly, it felt like we were shooting a commercial for a hardware store. Tables materialized out of nowhere. Tents sprung up instantly. 2 uncles were fighting the wind to put up the tarp. Aunts were washing vegetables. Someone's grandma was already cooking rice on a portable stove. The baby, the mysterious baby I had never met, was suddenly sitting in a tiny inflatable pool filled with seawater like a beach VIP. I stood there holding my tiny backpack, containing nothing but sunscreen and a water bottle, suddenly feeling extremely underprepared. One uncle saw me standing uselessly and asked, "Miss, can you help hold this?" He handed me what I thought was a table leg. It was not. It was a metal pole for the karaoke speaker stand. I almost dropped it. Karaoke. At the beach, with a speaker stand. I whispered to myself, Americans could never. It took them exactly 21 minutes to transform the beach into a fully functional, multi-station outdoor fiesta. It was incredible. By comparison, I once watched my friends in California take 30 minutes just to fold one picnic blanket. Then came the moment that truly blew my mind. I saw an auntie plug the entire karaoke system into an outlet somewhere connected to a tangled mess of extension cords that led, I kid you not, toward a random coconut tree. "Is that safe?" I asked. "No," someone said cheerfully. Then they turned it on anyway. Within seconds, the beach was filled with the familiar intro of My Way, and people who weren't even from our group were looking around like, may karaoke na. This was when I realized something profound. Filipinos don't go to the beach to relax. They go to the beach to live their best lives. To cook feasts, to sing, to hang out, to bond, to enjoy. Relaxation is optional. Fun is mandatory. While I was still processing all of this, someone handed me a plate of pancit at 10:30 in the morning. I hadn't even unpacked my sunscreen yet. But refusing food in a Filipino gathering feels like committing a crime. So there I was, standing in wet sand, holding a plate of pancit karaoke blasting behind me, children running uncles, opening beer titas, chopping onions, and the smell of marinated pork floating through the air like a promise of greatness. And I realized this was perfect. Not the relaxing beach trip I imagined, but something better. Now, remember how I said she brought a rice cooker? I had assumed they would cook rice at home and bring it. No. They set that thing up right beside the tent and cooked rice on site like it was a sacred ritual. I asked, "Can't we just eat bread?" The entire family gasped collectively. "No rice? At the beach?" one auntie whispered dramatically. I think I offended the whole nation with that one sentence. Then they laughed because they laugh at everything, including my cultural stupidity. Someone placed their hand on my shoulder like they were comforting a child. "Don't worry, we will teach you." While the rice cooked, someone else was grilling liempo, chicken, and fish. I don't know who brought the fish. It wasn't in the bags. I think it just manifested. Then one tita set up a fruit station like she was selling produce at a farmer's market. Mangoes, bananas, watermelon, all sliced beautifully. Meanwhile, another table was dedicated entirely to snacks. Chippy, piatos, boy bawang. I tried to take a few pieces. They handed me the whole bag. "You need more," a tito said. "You're too thin." I have never been called too thin in my life until I stepped foot in the Philippines. At one point, I saw them using a massive wooden stick to mix a giant pot of spaghetti. Filipino style, sweet, red, and glowing like a sunset. And I realized Filipinos treat spaghetti like a national treasure, even at the beach. Then came the moment of pure chaos. Someone shouted, "Picture! Picture! Picture!" And suddenly 40 people were grabbing me and placing me in the center of the group. I didn't even know half of them yet. They squeezed in so tight that I couldn't breathe. Then, with the confidence of an action movie director, one of the kids yelled, "Isa pa, wacky!" And suddenly everyone was posing like they were in a meme. But honestly, I loved it. After the pictures, the real fun began. They dragged me to the shore to swim, even though the sun was blazing. While Americans usually hide from the heat, Filipinos run toward it. It's like they absorb sunlight for energy. While I was gently wading into the water, they were already diving, splashing, laughing, dunking each other. Someone even brought a volleyball and started a game that lasted so long I lost track of time. But the funniest part? They brought floaters. But not inflatable tubes or cute pool toys. No, they brought actual empty water gallons and used them as flotation devices. "That's genius," I whispered. "Of course," they said proudly. By noon, we were all starving. And this is where the true Filipino beach culture revealed itself. The food spread looked like a feast prepared for an army. Grilled everything, seafood everything, rice enough to feed a village, fruits, snacks, desserts, and juice in a container the size of a bucket. I ate so much that my body entered a spiritual state. My soul briefly left my body. But the most Filipino part of this entire day happened after lunch. Someone picked up the microphone. "Okay," they announced loudly. "It's karaoke time." Kids cheered, adults cheered, even the baby clapped. Suddenly, the entire beach felt like a live concert. Random people from neighboring groups drifted toward our area like moths to a flame, nodding in appreciation. Filipinos don't need a stage. They don't need a spotlight. Just give them a microphone and a speaker plugged into a coconut tree, and they will perform like they're auditioning for a global tour. One uncle started singing, "Nothing has gonna change my love for you," with the emotional intensity of a man reliving every heartbreak he's ever had. A tita followed with "Dancing Queen," which, I swear, could have summoned rain. Then they handed the microphone to me. And suddenly, 43 people were staring at me with excited faces. I froze. I can't sing, I whispered. They gasped like I told them I didn't believe in gravity. It's okay, someone yelled. Just sing! No judgment, another shouted. This was objectively a lie. Filipinos absolutely judge karaoke, but with love. So with sweaty hands and absolutely no dignity left, I chose the safest song, Can't Help Falling in Love. I sang one verse and one chorus. They screamed like I just won the voice. Today, American singer, an uncle shouted proudly. By afternoon, everyone was either sleeping, snacking, singing, or swimming. Time didn't matter. Responsibilities didn't exist. It was pure Filipino joy, loud, chaotic, warm, and overflowing. And me? I was slowly turning into a Filipino myself. I laughed loudly. I ate too much rice. I sang badly. I played volleyball while sunburnt. I took wacky photos. I even used the water gallon floater. But nothing prepared me for what happened next, because nighttime was coming. And according to them, the real party starts paggabi na. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't a beach trip. This was just Act 1. Night fell over the beach like a velvet blanket, and with it came the true Filipino magic. I had thought the day's chaos, rice cookers, karaoke, volleyball with water gallon floaters, was the pinnacle. I was so very, very wrong. Lanterns were hung from the tents and coconut trees, casting a warm golden glow over the sand. The earlier chaos had transformed into a new kind of organized chaos. Beach tables stacked with food grills still smoking, people moving like synchronized chaos dancers, and the karaoke speaker system now louder, prouder, and plugged into what appeared to be an even more dangerous power source. Shara whispered, "Okay, American friend, now you will see the Filipino night beach fiesta in its full glory." I squinted. The full glory included more rice, still cooking, but also something new, a portable generator the size of a small elephant. Someone was mixing drinks in giant buckets, and the smell of grilled seafood was strong enough to lure seagulls from miles away. Then I noticed the tents. Tents everywhere. I had assumed we had 4 tents this morning. I was wrong. There were 7 now, each with a different function. Tent 1, sleeping. Tent 2, storage. Tent 3, food prep. Tent 4, karaoke. Tent 5, merchandise. Apparently someone brought snacks to sell. Tent 6, first aid. Tent 7, a VIP area for grandparents and toddlers. I was overwhelmed and a little terrified. The first round of evening karaoke began. The microphone was handed around like a sacred scepter. The first singer was a tita, mid-50s, who belted out "Bakit ngayon ka lang" with a power I didn't know humans could produce without amplification. People cheered, clapped, and even cried. Then the Tito, the one who had sung "Nothing is Gonna Change My Love for You" earlier, returned to the microphone. He pointed at me. "American, now your turn." I froze. My face probably looked like a melted popsicle. "You already sang today," I said, trying to sound reasonable. "Doesn't matter," he said. "Sing again. We need your energy." I glanced at Shara. She shrugged. "It's tradition." Fine. Tradition. I could respect that. I was a professional adult. I could sing a second song, except I picked the wrong song, Bohemian Rhapsody. Immediately, the beach turned into a combination of a heavy metal concert and a philosophical seminar. People screamed Galileo and waved their hands. Kids danced in the sand. Some adults tried to harmonize. Others just lay down on beach mats, covering their faces in dramatic despair, waiting for it to end. When I finally finished, my lungs on fire and sand in every conceivable place, the crowd cheered. I was officially a hero. Then came the beach games. At first, I thought they would be normal. Volleyball? Tag? Sandcastle competition? No. This was a full Filipino Olympic event. They had relay races involving coconut shells, spoon and egg challenges, and a tug of war that somehow included 4 uncles, 2 titas, and a dog named Brownie. Somehow, Brownie became the MVP. I was drafted into the coconut shell race. The rules were simple. Hop inside a coconut shell while holding a plate of spaghetti. Simple, right? Not. I face planted in front of everyone. Spaghetti flew everywhere. Someone yelled, "Pagod ka na ba?" which apparently meant, "Are you tired yet?" "Yes," I screamed, but they laughed and clapped and insisted I do it again. By the time we were done, I was exhausted, but the energy didn't stop. Someone brought out firecrackers. Small ones, medium ones, and one massive firework that Shara said her cousin smuggled from somewhere. I stood back because I had learned that standing close to anything Filipino and explosive is a dangerous strategy. Still, I watched in awe as the fireworks lit up the sky, reflecting on the water and illuminating hundreds of smiling faces. Families, friends, kids, titas, titos, everyone was laughing, yelling, singing, and celebrating life. Even the dogs seemed impressed. And then, the grand finale, came the midnight food buffet. I had eaten enough rice and grilled pork to feed a small army, but somehow the food multiplied. There was lechon, more pancit, sweet desserts, halo in huge bowls, drinks in jugs, and someone had even brought street food, fish balls, kikiam, and kwek, which they insisted were essential for the cultural experience. I hesitated. I didn't have the stomach capacity for another round. But refusing food in this context felt like refusing gravity. You simply cannot. So I ate. And I ate. And then, when I thought I couldn't eat another bite, someone handed me a plate of churros. "American, you must try churros with cheese," they said. I had cheese churros. It was life-changing. By 1 a.m., most of the younger people had returned to the water to swim in the moonlight. Some were floating on makeshift water bottle rafts. Some were swimming with glow sticks tied to their wrists. It looked like a luminous underwater rave. I sat on the sand, exhausted, and just watched. And that's when I understood. Filipinos do not go to the beach to relax. They go to the beach to live, to celebrate, to transform the sand, the sun, the sea, and their entire lives into one giant, sprawling, chaotic, joyful party. The beach is just a canvas. Their happiness is the paint, and their laughter is the soundtrack. I looked around. People were singing karaoke in the tents. Others were dancing in the shallow waves. Someone was still grilling. Kids were running through the firecrackers, somehow unharmed. Grandparents were sitting in their VIP tent, nodding approvingly at the chaos. And me? I was sitting cross-legged, sticky with food and sunscreen, sand in my hair, in complete awe. Somehow, in the middle of all this noise and movement and mess, there was a rhythm. A rhythm that said, life is loud, messy, delicious, chaotic, and so very, very fun. I realized that in the Philippines, the beach isn't a place. It's an event. It's a philosophy. It's a declaration. You bring yourself, you bring your family, you bring your food, your music, your rice cookers, your karaoke machines, and you make it glorious. You do not come empty-handed, and you do not come without joy. As the waves whispered and the stars reflected on the water, I made a promise to myself. The next time I visit a Filipino beach, I would come prepared. Not just with sunscreen and a towel, but with the readiness to eat, to sing, to dance, to laugh, to compete in coconut shell relays, and to survive the greatest, most chaotic, most beautiful fiesta a beach could ever witness. Because Filipinos do not simply visit the beach. They conquer it. They transform it. They make it unforgettable. And somehow you are invited to join, whether you like it or not. I had wanted a simple beach trip. Instead, I got a full-scale cultural experience. I got a lesson in joy, chaos, community, and the beautiful absurdity of life. And as I finally lay down on the sand, stuffed with rice, pancit, churros, and awe, I thought, if Americans could see this, they would cry. They would cry from amazement or terror or envy, probably all three. But me? I smiled, sticky, sandy, sweaty, overwhelmed, and completely, utterly happy. Because that right there was the Filipino beach,